So is this the place where you saw the bear from the plane?
It is, yes. You can see there's a very regular bear trail where they're coming and going from the river. If a bear comes close to us, we'll stand side by side and we'll try to look big just like they do. And then typically they'll just move around you and then move off. If a bear is trying to fish in an area, though, the last thing we want to do is for that bear to think that we want the fishing hole and we expect for it to move. So if they want it, we'll let them have it.
Okay.
Carrying a gun at all times is common practice in the Alaskan wilderness. And in case a bear does attack, my pilot Glenn Osworth Jr. is carrying a .50 caliber handgun. The bears may have already found a good fishing spot.
Just literally, I don't know, sort of 15 feet from where I'm standing, there's been a steady procession of fish through, working their way upstream. And there's also some big dark groups holding as well further down, so I'm quite looking forward to getting a line in the water.
Time to try and get my first salmon.
Well, there you go, you got it.
Ah, he's off. Actually hooked one. That was a bit of a surprise. The line just was ticking down, and they haven't really spooked off too far. Just ticking down, it just stopped, and I think I was a bit too surprised. I just pulled. I should have sort of actually tried to set the hook a bit more on that one.
With this many salmon around, it's not long before the bears start returning to their fishing spot.
Here's a bear just coming out of the brush on the far side.
Whereabouts is it, Glenn?
He's just looking out of the brush, watching for salmon.
Oh, yeah. And that, I mean, that's a very definite fisherman's posture, isn't it? Even though it's
sure,
a...
Yeah, you can tell he's ready to pounce down in the water.
Within minutes, 3 large grizzlies have surrounded us. Our day on the river has suddenly become dangerous.
Oh, this is absolutely typical. You find a good spot, somebody else comes in, tries to LB you out, but I think in this case, I'm going to make a graceful retreat.
You may turn back towards us too, because there's fish between us and the bear. And definitely a good time to keep talking, keep making noise. That way, if he has his nose down under the water, he can still hear us and doesn't end up, popping out of the water right close to us and having to make a decision about how it's going to react.
With the bears this close, I can pick up some fishing tips.
I think it needs a bit of practice. It's almost on a level with my early fly fishing attempts, I think.
Yeah, they wait till there's a bunch of fish congregated right underneath them, and then just jump right on top of them that way.
Because I guess, I mean, a bit like a human fisherman, if there's lots of fish there, even if you're a bit inept, you're still going to get something.
Yeah.
Once they've moved off a bit, I can carry on trying to catch my first salmon. But these grizzlies are putting me to shame.
Ah! Ah! Fantastic to see these bears close up. I wasn't really expecting that. You can see they're semi-aquatic, but I don't think this is the lake monster, but I think you could call it, in some ways, a bit of a river monster. Here we go.
Believe it or not, this is the first salmon I've ever had on the end of my line. This is a fish that can swim hundreds of miles up these fast-flowing rivers to get to its spawning grounds, so it can put up a strong fight.
Right, fish has done me a favour. It actually has turned off the main flow.
I'm so engrossed with catching a salmon, at first I don't notice our interested onlooker.
Out of the water, out of the water. Right, it's coming. Okay. Right, I think we're going to run and break the fish off. I think it... Oh! No. Hey, you see one of the fish?
This bear is clearly not afraid of us, and that's a problem.
Should we just break it off? No. We're going to break the... No, we're just going to break the fish off.
This is a young grizzly, but although not fully grown, it could still attack and kill any one of us.
You can have the fish.
Luckily, it's more interested in the salmon than us. It took my fish, and a minute later, it's back for more. This time, we need to fire a warning shot.
I am going to fire a warning. He's getting too pushy.
Whoa! No!
You guys, plug your ears.
Just deep breaths, just calm down. It's all part of the day in the life of a fisherman in this part of the world.
Even after a warning shot, the bear won't leave, so it's best that my film crew and I get out. And given that glyphis and bull sharks look very similar, I need to take a closer look at exactly what's swimming in these waters.
Still there. Okay, that's coming in.
It's not a bull shark or a glyphis. This predator is a barramundi.
Here we go, this is a barramundi. No, it's quite strange for me because it's actually just like a Nile perch. They don't go quite as big as Nile perch, but very uncanny, the resemblance, same family. It's picked up a big dead mullet off the bottom in the middle of the night.
Barramundi have sandpaper teeth, which makes them unlikely to injure people.
Yeah, that was not the one that I'm actually after.
But I don't want to push my luck in this spot, because a predator even deadlier than a shark is on patrol. A saltwater crocodile. I'm careful to set up camp well back from the water's edge. The next morning, I get a visit from a local guide. He's been told I'm here and has a story that suggests I'm not being careful enough.
Yeah. Oh, just camping on the Pentecost River, and just decided to come out and attack us in the second night.
Dan Duncan and his girlfriend Sonia were on a fishing trip in the outback. Aware of the danger from crocodiles, they too pitched their tent well away from the water. But on this night, distance was no protection.
And was there all night, obviously, to about 3 o'clock until he decided to do something.
Somehow Dan's girlfriend managed to avoid the crocodile's jaws and escape, leaving Dan tangled in the tent and fighting for his life.
My arm was stuck with him and I was going over and he was slowly dragging me back towards the river. Luckily at the last minute he started to roll the other way and I unrolled my arm and I got out and he just slid into the river. People say you can stick your fingers in their eyes and stuff. It doesn't really work, you know. They pretty much, if a croc's got you and he's dedicated, and I don't think you're going to get away. Especially in that river. If he had to pull me down there, that's it.
To stay safe out here, I'm going to need eyes in the back of my head. But the croc story has got me thinking about teeth and bite marks. I've just been contacted by the regional fire department, who are regularly brought in to remove anacondas from people's backyards. And they're allowing me to ride shotgun on an emergency call-out. An anaconda was found during a soccer match.
Somebody kicked the ball out of play. They went after it into the long grass. And there was this snake just sitting there.
This 12-foot anaconda is capable of squeezing a child to death and could swallow prey the size of a dog. Although the head looks small, an anaconda can separate the two sides of its lower jaw, enabling it to engulf animals with a much greater girth than itself. A 20-foot anaconda could swallow a man. But confronting one at any size is something I'd normally avoid.
Acho que nessa posição mesmo tá bom para pegar, né?
The snake has to be caught and relocated, and I've talked the fire department and myself into an impromptu training exercise.
Tente não deixar ele se enrolar no seu braço, ok?
I'm hoping that by getting hands-on, I can ease myself into the challenge of facing something that could be nearly twice as long as this one.
Just looking at it up close now, it's in the process of molting its skin. The scales are falling off.
Even the layer over its eyes is peeling off, rendering it temporarily blind. It makes up for this vulnerability with added aggression.
Yep, that's a little bit of a strike.
To catch this anaconda, I have to grab it behind the head. A moment's hesitation, and it could turn and nail me.
Right, I've got it. I possibly need to grab it a little bit closer to the head. And what I want to avoid it doing is getting its body around my arm, because if that happens, what can happen, it can actually restrict the blood flow, and my hand will eventually go numb and then let go. I can see the teeth on the mouth. They're like the barbs on a fish hook. They're pointing backwards. Basically, if that bites you, it's going to be very hard to get that off.
It keeps trying to throw a coil around my body. Its instinctive follow-up to this is squeezing the victim to death. It's a struggle to stop it from wrapping around me. I can feel my arm start to weaken, so before the anaconda gets the better of me, I drop it in a transport container. It'll now be taken deep into the jungle and far away from any people to be released. For the fire department, it's a regular occurrence, with anacondas like this turning up around twice a month.
You land it right on top of something there.
Actually hit it. That's a peacock, wasn't it? So this is a snakehead. That would be it. But this is a peacock bass, territorial. Yeah.
The peacock bass is also a non-native predator, but it was brought in officially as a biological control to eat invasive species like tilapia. Its intolerance to cold water prevents it from spreading.
This is another fish that is a long way away from home. This one is a native of the Amazon. This is a peacock bass, what they call a butterfly peacock bass. It's one of the, it's the smaller variety of those. Definitely a predator, big mouth, but not as toothy as the snakehead, but very capacious mouth there. And one thing that's interesting about this, it's also got an eye spot. I mean, that's why they call this the peacock bass. So it's similar in that respect to the snakehead. But one noticeable difference between this and the snakehead is the body shape. This one is flattened that way, laterally. If this was to fall on the ground and kick, it would just sort of flop around in the same position. The snakehead is flattened that way. If that falls on the ground and flaps around, it's actually going to move. The snakehead can wriggle its way overland and then find a new home, and that's why they're worried about them here.
Soon after they arrived here, snakeheads caught the imagination of filmmakers. The alien invaders were cast as slithering assassins, as superfish that could somehow crawl out of the water and attack dogs, or unsuspecting humans. It's easy to dismiss this movie monster as pure fantasy, and yet, remarkably, much of it is based on fact.
Some of the traits that the media picked up on are true. The fish can survive out of water. Some of them can move over land. They do have high levels of aggression.
Does this mean that snakeheads could, under certain conditions, become the backyard predators of our nightmares? Fish biologist Ray Waldner has studied snakeheads in detail.
It is an air breather. It can use atmospheric oxygen. You'll see the fish come up to the surface and literally lift its head up a little bit, grab a mouthful of air, and then submerge again.
Snakeheads have a special chamber above the gills that acts as a simple lung. When it gulps air, oxygen diffuses into an encircling mesh of blood vessels.
If they're in a very stagnant area where the oxygen levels in the water are very, very low, the fish are still able to survive. So they can survive under conditions that would definitely kill other fishes. But it also allows a fish to live out of the water.
So far, so Hollywood. But are snakeheads mobile enough to threaten anyone on land? A few years ago, Paul Schaafland brought some back to his lab and put them to the test.
He's moving, okay? But he's not making a real directional movement. Most of the time, they sat like this with a little bit of flipping, but the snakehead has just soft pectorals. It doesn't have a way to support itself. They seem to burn out pretty quick.
This is the end of the line for this boat, and as we pull into a remote fishing village, I get my first sight of a Congo River monster.
Anguille? They call them eels. I'm used to eels that are about like that round and maybe 18 inches, 2 foot long. These things, you know, they're the thickness of your leg and maybe getting on for 5 foot. I'll see if we can maybe get one out and have a proper look at one. They're just such weird looking creatures. Right. I'm not going to put my hands in the mouth there. There's some pretty nasty looking fangs in there, and they're, you know, they look sharp. They also look quite dirty and unhygienic. I think I've got an ID on these. I think these are lungfish.
Oui.
That is because this fish actually has an air bladder which it uses as a lung, so it can actually breathe out of water. And this is a fish that can bury itself underground and survive droughts. It sort of, I think, belched out a little bit of air, and then there was a took some air in and then belched out of the gills. Small eyes generally on a fish means that, you know, they don't use them much for feeding. They're probably using vibration or scent in the water more than vision to find their food. This was caught on a palm nut, so it suggests, you know, an omnivorous feeder. I mean, that mouth to me looks like it's going to take fish. I'd guess, like a lot of fish around here, you know, it's sort of opportunistic. It'll actually chomp anything that comes its way. But anyway, they call this an eel, and, you know, I have to say it's the most impressive eel that I've ever seen.
Lungfish are ancient creatures, predating all animals that walk on land. When I look at a beast like this, Mamiwata no longer seems such a stretch of the imagination.
Even though I'm struggling to identify what the kappa might be, it's clear that the story is very much alive, even in modern-day Japan, and part of the purpose of that is to keep children away from potentially dangerous water. I've come to Kyoto University to meet somebody who can tell me what else there is besides fish that lives in Japanese rivers. Professor Matsui, can you tell me about what is living in the rivers in Japan, apart from the fish?
Crabs, rocks, and newts, salamanders, turtles.
Turtles. Now that instantly triggers my thought process. I have encountered large turtles before. Could the kappa be a turtle? It would have to be a giant to inspire this legend.
How big do the turtles grow?
The biggest turtle is about not so big, nearly 50 centimeters.
Nearly 50?
Yeah.
That's about 50 centimetres, isn't it? About something like
But,
that. Yeah.
Not big enough to be the child-snatching kappa. But turtles have clearly influenced the legend, as the kappa is sometimes depicted with a shell. But as we talk further, Professor Matsui tells me of a creature known locally as the hanzaki, which lives in rivers and grows nearly 6 feet long. But it is very rare now. To find one, I'll have to travel into the remote hills. I meet Mr. Toshimoto in his Riverside Institute dedicated to the study of the hanzaki, and he shows me a skeleton. But he assures me this one comes from a real creature.
So here it is, but in some ways I'm none the wiser. I mean, it does look very fish-like. I mean, it looks a bit like a mixture between catfish, lungfish, and eel. But it's not quite as simple as that. There are other bones here as well. It's a middle-sized one. It's 3 feet long, but that's just a middle-sized one. And there we go. That could easily grab hold of my hand. So daytime, if I put my hands underneath stones, I should be a little bit careful, maybe. Well, I've come to the right place. I'm off now to look for a hanzaki in the wild.
Mr. Toshimoto accompanies me on my hunt. He has been studying the hanzaki in this river for the past 30 years. He knows their habits and where to find them. But not only that, hanzaki are a protected species, so if I wasn't assisting Mr. Toshimoto in his ongoing study, I wouldn't even be allowed to get near them.
This animal has sharp teeth that will cut my fingers if they actually went anywhere near its mouth, so I've got my bite-proof Kevlar gloves on. Got to go down with this underwater camera, just try and see if I can find one, see where it is, and then go down and try and grab it.
The current is surprisingly strong, and I'm not entirely sure what it is I'm hoping to confront. But I think I've hit the jackpot.
There's one down here, or it might be two. There's a tail sticking out, about 4 or 5 foot down in the water, but it's right underneath this rock. It did move, as I came past, it did sort of shuffle further in though. The problem is, I just have the tail, a little bit of tail sticking out. So hold the tail, grab tight.
Okay.
Okay, so grab tight, and then in the net. Okay.
I have caught a hanzaki, better known as the giant Japanese salamander, one of the largest salamanders in the world, and the creature that I believe is behind the kappa legend. They get bigger than this, but wow, this creature is aggressive, even though we mean it no harm. The good thing is that these guys, unlike fish, are just as at home on land as they are in the water. Pretty soon, he calms down.
That is a hanzaki noodled. And I'm very pleased that even with my gloves on, my hands stayed away from that mouth. He wasn't too amused by the fact that he was just pulled out of his hole like that. But this, I think, is the creature I've been after. Looks a bit like a fish, but it's got hands. And that's exactly what this has got.
Mr. Toshimoto is monitoring the health of the hanzaki population along this river.
It's nearly 10 pounds.
Measuring, weighing and micro-tagging every one of his catches,
Counting all the digits, all normal.
so that when he recaptures them he can build up a clear picture of how this incredibly rare animal is faring in the wild.
Best part of a yard long.
And now we have collected a new one for his study.
This is an animal that hasn't been caught before. It doesn't have a chip in it. So that's a really good capture. Normally I wouldn't be allowed to touch this, but the fact that I'm acting as Mr. Toshimoto's assistant means that I'm able to work with this animal.
There are only a few pockets of these endangered giant salamanders left in the wild, these creatures that haven't changed since the age of the dinosaurs. Their survival is an important part of Japan's natural heritage. And when I try to release it, this national treasure still makes one last attempt to bite me, before disappearing, unfazed by his capture. A little uneasy when these fishermen on the fringe invite me to join their meal.
Right. So this is tilapia?
Yeah.
Tilapia?
Yeah.
A little bit of spice.
Tilapia are a small fish that they commonly target, as they are easier to catch than the Nile perch.
Ah,
Very good.
very good. Sushi tilapia. Actually not bad. Thank you.
I realise that if I'm to fish here, I really need to know the risks I'll be facing.
What about the dangers on the lake? I've seen the hippos, I've seen the crocodiles. Is this something that you worry about every day?
No.
Most of these animals, the hippos and the crocs, will be close to the shore. That's the dangerous area. So what they do is they deploy their nets out in the middle of the lake in the deeper water, but obviously they've still got to go through the shallows on their way back. But they say even so, you know, there are people who've worked with them in the past who have been killed by both hippos and by crocs.
Despite their lumbering looks, many consider hippos Africa's most dangerous animal, as they often kill fishermen. This man knows just how real that danger is. He was attacked by a hippo just a few months ago while on his way to the lake to fish for Nile perch.
Altai was walking with his nets along a path, and then he noticed a hippo. And when he saw the hippo, he called out, and his friend ran off, and at that point the hippo charged him. And the next thing that happens is that the hippo is goring him in the side of the chest. And the hippo has these two sharp tusks on the lower jaw, and apparently he was spearing him with these tusks, and in the process of that actually flipped him over onto his back. He basically just thought he was going to die, and he was praying for it to stop. He was praying that he would survive this somehow. It appeared that his prayers had been answered because actually the hippo stopped goring him and started moving off towards the lake, towards the water. Shortly after that, his friend actually came back and found him. What injuries were you left with after this? Can you show your... This horrific wound on the chest here, apparently there were 3 ribs broken and with, you know, bits of rib actually visible sticking out. And likewise, the wounds on the leg, there was a flap of skin hanging out. I mean, for me, it just really underlines just what a dangerous job this is, what a dangerous place this is to be a fisherman. I mean, I can scarcely begin to imagine what it's like working as a fisherman on this lake.
But if I want to learn how they catch their mputa, I'm going to have to fish like they do. So I head out with one of the guys to check their nets. But I hadn't counted on their boats being so flimsy and exposed.
This is a bit nerve-wracking. There's a pod of hippos over there. It's not them I'm worried about, but there's a couple of others on the fringes of the group which periodically go under and then come back up again, and they've been coming back up closer and closer. Strangely, I'm actually trying to get to the deep water because that's actually going to be safer than the shallows where the hippos and the crocs are. Hippo's very, very close. Looking this way, gone underwater. I don't like the look of this, actually.
After what I've just heard, I want to stay well clear of these hippos. They are just as dangerous in the water, and they have been known to flip boats, chomping the occupants to death. If I get on the wrong side of a hippo, especially in this tiny canoe, I'll be lucky to escape alive. But my only option is to just get on with it. If, like the local fishermen, you are dependent on the fish you catch to stay alive, you've got to work with the dangers.
Bit of a ropey old net, this. Looks like a few crocs and hippos have actually gone through this. I think it's quite good actually having something to do while I'm out here rather than just drifting on this water. The thought of what's down there, the crocs and the hippos down there. Oh, there's a fish already. So this is the tilapia. This is what the fishermen mostly catch, or what they catch in numbers in these lakes. And they don't run to a great deal bigger than this. Spiny dorsal fin,
Lovely bluish coloration there. Yeah, just very pretty. But the reason they're catching them is they are very, very good eating, which is what's going to happen to this one. The rest of the net doesn't yield any more fish, let alone a Nile perch. But apparently they are out there, and they are the prize that makes facing the unseen dangers worthwhile. The fishermen. Like all freshwater eels, these ancient fish begin and end their lives at sea, and this is where I'm hoping to intercept them. At Lake Ellesmere, in New Zealand's South Island, the eels run into a dead end. To reach the ocean, they have to leave the lake and crawl over a narrow spit of land. In the fading light, eel fishermen Graham and George are also waiting for the approaching swarm. They've cut a shallow trench at the end of the lake, just a few hundred yards from the sea. As the eels search for a way through, they'll run into this blind alley. It's a time-honoured strategy used by the Maori, and it seems to work. Before long, a writhing mass of eels is piling up under our feet. There's no danger here. The only thing on the minds of these eels is reaching salt water. Most of our catch is destined for the smoke rack or the cooking pot. But a different fate awaits any large eels.
Slippery customers. Very sizable one here. That one's actually too big to get one hand around. How'd you grab one of those?
Probably be too big to grab.
Right. So that's a big old longfin, isn't it?
That certainly is.
That's a good 4 foot long, that, isn't it?
20 pound. They got about 6 million eggs.
Right.
Yeah, in each one.
What we're going to do with this one is put it in the sack, and this one's actually going to go into the sea to complete its journey.
The fishermen tell me there were once countless thousands of eels pouring out of the rivers, some of them over 6 feet long. Nothing of this size has turned up in recent years, yet the more I get to know these fish, the more they impress me. Loaded with several million eggs, each of these females is about to embark on an epic 6-month voyage into the Pacific.
I reckon she can smell the sea, just yards to go.
The eels must now journey more than 3,000 miles to reach their spawning ground. Its precise location and how they managed to find it are still unanswered questions.
From here on, it's a creature of mystery.
Escaping the afternoon sun, I head back to camp, but on the way spot 2 of my guides on a sandbar. They have made an unusual discovery.
I found it in a ladysmith.
And this beast here, this is, in its own right, it's a bit of a river monster, this river turtle. This is only a medium-sized one. It's an air breather. It lives practically all its life under the water. Not that common to see these. They come up, they just poke their nose to the surface and then go down again. So it's quite nice to see one out in the open.
But I must be extremely careful. I know from previous experience that turtles can take you by surprise. The last thing I want is to lose my fingers to those powerful jaws.
Can I feel how heavy it is?
Yes.
Is that all right? So is it, if I come around here? Oh, okay.
The safest place to get a secure grip is on the shell behind the head.
That's a heavy animal. That's heavy. Oh, I don't know what that is. That's a good, I don't know, 60 pounds or something. Oh. Not doing my back much good. I'm going to put it back down. It might kick off once it hits the ground. This animal's actually very eager to get back in the water. It's very powerful limbs. Those clawed hands, you know, it's almost a bit like a tank, this thing. One reason we want to get this back is because it's actually eaten throughout the Amazon. It's considered a delicacy. People who spend all their time feeding on fish, this makes a very welcome change. Okay, it's pretty hard to get into, but it's very sought after meat, so we'll put this back in the water where it's going to be safe. You can actually go now. I'm going to pop round the other side. Go on in. That's impressive, how they can go from being immobile to that sudden burst of speed. Back into the water. Well, thanks for that, thank you.
The flesh I'm about to taste smells of urine.
It's got a really strong aftertaste. It really kicks in the back of the throat after you've taken the first bit.